everyone, I'm back at you with another beautiful project featuring another gorgeous kit from Julianna's Jewel Loom Creative Soul. This kit is another of the monthly series that Julianna creates and curates for you guys to create beautiful jewelry using your Jewel Loom. And so this is the main project in work on the loom, and how it was started was I used the same instructions that we've used for the general how you tie onto the button and then go around the back button to warp your loom. And it has a total of 8 warps on there. And that's because the pattern is a nice simple 7 beads. And my plan for this is to work it in a sort of garland with these pips. And I used the colors from the mix and just pulled them right together with the check strand, and I just thought that was so cool. So let's get started with taking this off the loom. I'm going to remove this from the loom in a way that doesn't cut these, because I'm going to do the pulling in warp method for this one. And it's a really small footprint design, so it should be pretty fast. But the places where we knotted here at the beginning and the end, we're going to want to just trim right up next to the knot as close as we can get. And do the same thing on this side. And so now what you'll have is one of your warp strands will already be free, and we'll just need to go ahead and remove from the knob here at the back the remaining loops. And the easiest way to do that, if you have handy a pair of chain nose pliers, go ahead and just very gently remove those from the button. When your design comes off the loom, if you had really good tension like mine, you'll have a little bubbliness that you'll need to smooth out. And that is best done by just rolling the beads in your hand. So usually what I do is I'll just start in the middle, and I'll just very gently roll those beads toward the edge. And as each section becomes smooth into your liking, you can go ahead and bring that right out to the end. And so you might have a little spacing or a little gapping, just gently nudge that back. I'm going to do that on both sides. And there we go. And sometimes one side gets a little more, make sure that it's, not giving it any kind of a whisper, meaning that it's bending in one direction or the other. So once you've got that, let's go on to the next step. So identifying the warp strands, and for now, go ahead and exclude working with the remaining working thread, the remaining left thread here. So just kind of bring that out of the way, a little to the side over here. Same thing here at the bottom. I'm going to avoid using this one also. So these two, we're just gonna, let me lift up a little bit, sorry about that. Let's make that a little higher. We're just gonna isolate these two. We don't want to pull on those. We just want to pull on these, and we're gonna do it in a strategic way that brings each of these loops in. So just for ease, I'm gonna start with this side. And you'll notice on this side it's free, because this is the part that was tied to the knob. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my pliers for, it'll give me something to grip, right? You can also, there's enough here where you can wrap it around your finger to pull too, if that's helpful. So either way, but I usually do just use my pliers. And I'm going to go ahead and hold everything in place so I don't warp my nice, tension that I just worked on. So I'm just going to place my hand over it as I pull this strand. And as I do that, you'll see here at the bottom that this loop right here, this loop is coming up. And again, I'm just holding everything nice and steady, and I'm just going to complete that work until I get it right where I like it. Let me show you up close. So that's how I bring the warps in. And now that I've pulled the warps in from this top part here, I'm going to want to repeat that, but I'm going to work each side one at a time. So if you've just pulled on the top side right here, you're going to want to switch and pull the next one in at the bottom. And then just making sure that the next loop up here is free, which is this one right here. Let me show you really quick. It's kind of an important thing to see. But this is the next loop that's going to be pulled in. This is this one right here. So I'm actually going to work it with this direction here. So again, I got my pliers down here at the bottom, and right up here at the top, you should see that pull in. And again, I've got my hand solidly holding everything down so that I don't have any, disruption to the nice tension that I've worked so hard to attain with this piece. There we go. So that loop is now, maybe I could give that a little tiny bit more. Again, I'm just pinching down here with the pliers, just that one strand, and taking a very close look at that. Just want to pull that in a little tiny bit more. There we go. So we'll start up here now and just carry on like that till you get to the last strand. You'll be working this one, then the next one in here, and so on. All right, so there is all of the warp strands pulled in on this beautiful design. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and weave in the remaining weft thread that I have here. Let me show you how to do that. So since this is the weft, it's actually exiting from the beads. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over the warp thread, which is this one running the side, and jump over it so that it's hugging it as I go back through the bead that I'm currently exiting. And then go through as many beads as you like. I got through almost all of them. It's a nice little thin band here. And from here, what I like to do to weave in is I'll pick up the little strands that run inside the each of these rows, the weft thread. So that's the thread that's running this way. Let me try to pick that up and show you. So just like that, you just want to pick each of those up, and it gives you a way to travel down through your rows. So it's really nice. Watch out for tangles. It looks like I'm getting a tangle here because there's a lot of other strands going on. This one seems to have gotten looped into it, so I'm just going to pull that through. There we go. So that's the goal, is to get the thread to go through some of that row. It doesn't matter, which one you come out of. And then just use your weft threads to travel down a few rows and repeat that a couple of times. And that's how you weave in any and all strands from looming. If you have any left that you need to weave in, or if you're doing, some folks like to weave in all the strands, this is another really nice method because it gives you the possibility of not having to do all that work in one tiny section, because you can travel down into different lengths of the bracelet. And it gives you different places to weave around, so you don't have thicknesses all in one place at the edge, right? So just keep going like that. And then once you've got that done, do that one more time, just like I just did there, and then go ahead and trim it. And do that for any of the other strands you may have, but go ahead and keep the super long warp strand that we had left at the end of the pulling in, and keep one on the end side. All right, so this is what I have. I've kept one on the ends, and I've also kept the super long warp thread that I had left. So this will be used to create our closure, and this is going to be used to create our garland embellishment. So get your beads ready. You're going to need your red, jet, the silver, and the darker luster pink, plus some of your pips. And working with the super long warp strand that we have, we're going to go ahead and go through. So look at where this is coming out right here. It's actually the strand that is running this whole side. So we don't want to try to just, go through that bead, or it would loosen the end row. So the best thing to do is you'll want to just take and jump over that bead and go ahead and go through all these beads here along the edge. And this is a really long strand, so just go slow so you don't get a knot or a tangle. Pull that through, and you'll see it makes a little loop here at the top, just like the edge loops that we made when we pulled the warps in. Go ahead and make a turn now and go through the next row. And that's going to put you exiting from, if you look at these and just think of them as little bulbs, each one has 3, and then there's 5, 5, 5, and 3. We're going to be going through the 3 right there. You see that? So it'll get us going at the second row in from our edge. And now you want to string 9 of the beads in. You could actually do any color. I'm going to start with jet. All right, and so after you string 9 beads, go through the row that has the other side of the bulb there, the 3. And take a look at it, see if you like it. And this is just the outside part of our first scallop. And it's gonna look really round like that. Pick up another 9. And with this one, we're gonna go ahead and go through the first 2 or 3, just however many you comfortably get through, of the second row in from the edge here. And from here on out, you're going to recognize that as the one that's the either side of the bulb. So you're creating something that looks like this, right? And I only went through a few beads here because I want to make a little turn using my weft threads to get me into the 3rd row. So let's see, I'm exiting from that bead right there, see? So I'm going to go under just the one that I'm exiting from, so the first weft thread. And this is just a travel method, but you'll see I'm going under the one that is literally right next to the bead I'm exiting, and then the one into the row that I'd like to get into. I'm going to pull that all the way through here. Oops. So it's going to look like that. And go ahead and go through all the beads in that row to bring you to this one. Okay, now let's switch to red. So what I'm basically doing here is I think I'm gonna match the colors in each of the bulbs for at least a part of the inside. So that's what I'm doing here. So next you're gonna wanna do 4 beads, you know, in whichever color you like. And what I decided to do is, like I said before, just to kind of match, this was the next color in here is that beautiful red. So yeah, that's what I'm going with here. Skip over the next row. So you're skipping the middle of the bulb there. And go ahead and bring that through the whole row. And so you're gonna get that beautiful look right there. Do that again, 4 beads. And same thing as before, just go through some of the beads in this row. It doesn't have to be all of them. Looks like I got through 4 there. That's pretty good. If you're getting a tangle, it's likely because of your other thread there. I'm keeping this other thread there to do my closure, so it's just getting in the way a little bit. That'll remedy as we go on. So I have one of the little scallops. Same thing as we did before. You're going to want to take and go under the weft thread here of whichever bead you've exited from, as well as the next bead, bringing us to the middle. And then just pull that through, bringing you right here. From here, go ahead and head through to bring yourself exiting from that edge. And you'll be right there in the middle of your little scallop. And right here, just pick up 1 bead. I'm going to go with this luster pink. and then go back through the row. Go ahead and go through the entire row, that center one. And that's going to cause that bead to be kind of like a turning bead in a fringe design. It's going to just pop it right there like that. Do the same thing on that side. Pick up another bead and then head back through a few beads in that row. All right, so here's what we have so far. There's our edge. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to travel under the weft threads, and I'm going to try to bring myself to exit from this next one. And the same method is just go under. It looks like I've got through 3. Let's go through a few more, 2 more, just to travel. All right. So the goal being to get to the next little bulb there. So I'm in that row. And it doesn't actually matter which side you start on, but we're going to repeat everything we just did here for the first beautiful scallop. We're going to repeat that with this one. So we're right in the right spot. And what I decided to do was I'm going to keep with the jet for my outside color, so 9 of those. Here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's that. Same thing on this side, 9 beads. You know, and then just get through a few, and do that same thing that we did before, where you just travel through the weft threads, just getting under those. So that same method we use when we're weaving in, we're going to use that here to travel all around and make a turn and get where we want to go. So with this one, I'm going to go with the pink, and I didn't get the pink out yet, so let me grab that really quick. In a moment of inspiration, I decided I do want to match the bulb colors. I wasn't sure yet, but I'm really loving how that looks on the first one. So it's just so fun to see your vision come together. I've sketched this and thought, well, I just don't know about color yet. Well, now I'm loving it. Yeah, look at that. That is super cute. Okay, so I just need to get to the middle. We're going to do that same thing again. There we go. And that's just a way to get from row to row and hide your thread. So now I think I'm going to go actually with red for the center of this one. So I just kind of working with whichever color inspires me. And it kind of matches what I'm trying to do with my design. So there's that one. Pick up another of those and go back through here. All right, so there's 2. So you can see how these are coming together. And when you're wearing it, it's going to look really cute. It's each of those little scallops will lay flat against, but the little bead there pops up. And I thought that looked really neat. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish this all the way to the end. And when we get to the end, we're going to work back through it to add the pips in a really cool way that I think you will love. All right, so as you get to the end, you should have something like this. And I will highlight in the PDF all the colors that I ended up choosing. And I'm really happy with how they came out. I'm pretty smitten with it. It's really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and add the center of this one. It just needs its last little embellishment. So I saved the my favorite part for the little last embellishment part. I love this. So we'll grab one of these. There we go. And I went all the way through, pop that bead right there. And the same with this one. So at this part right here, after you've added your last embellishment, and you know, just like we've been doing, we're just going to go through a few beads right here. And now we're ready to work adding the pip beads. So to share this next part, I'm going to bring this camera down just a little bit. And I'm going to get really close to the piece and show you where I am. So now I've got all of the ruffles on there. I'm going to try to weave using that same method we've been using to exit from the first bead on the outer ruffle. And it doesn't matter which side. You can go to this one or that one. And you know, I'm closer to the one on the side facing me, so I'm actually going to go that way. And again, to get there, use our same little trick where we pick up those wefty threads. From here, you'll just go ahead and go through the last 2 beads in that row, and then exit from the first bead in the ruffle that you've made. Remember, there's a ruffle here of 9 beads. We're going to exit from the first bead. String a pip bead. And now what you want to do, skip to the next ruffle and go down through its first bead. And then you can continue through the row if you'd like. And you know, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could weave this way and do one side. I think my preference has been to work each side back and forth like that, but so I'm going to show you that way, but just know you could do a lot of different directions. So that's going to put that pip bead right there in between our little ruffle or a garland. I wasn't really sure what to call it. I just think it's pretty. So here's our next one. And again, exiting from that first bead in the ruffle right there where that thread's tugging. We're going to skip and go through the first bead on the last ruffle. And in this case, just like we've been doing, we're going to just go through a few beads because our next step is we're going to need to travel. And so I'm going to repeat that all the way down for the entire length of the bracelet. And it's going to look really, really cool. Isn't that neat? So I think 90% of this is just moving around, right? So we're going to just go underneath all of these wefts. Actually, only need to go through those because I'm going to show you another way you could do it. If you wanted to, if you feel like you don't want to keep doing the wefts, I mean, you could travel all the way over here and do that. That's great too. You can also use the arcs to turn. So how would that look? You can go through and this can also reinforce and make these pop a little bit. So some added benefit there. And check this out. Now I'm right where I need to be to add the next pip. So that's another way you could do it, using the wefts to travel just like we've been doing. Or you can arc around through one of those, you know, arms of 9 that we made. And I did pick up a pip bead, sorry, I kind of glazed over that. And then go down through the first bead in the next one. And since I'm working both sides simultaneously, I'm going to carry on. Pick up the first bead on that side of this one, right? And then pop right in place. Same thing, I need another pip bead. We'll head right down through. I'll get through a few beads there. See what we're doing. We're getting that to go, and it's looking really nice. So again, you can do what I just showed you, or you can travel using the wefts all the way to the next one. So let's do that for this so you can see both ways. It's just sometimes picking up that many in a row can be a little tricky. So actually what I might do is pull that through. Okay, and I'm going to go through just a few more here. All right, now I'm where I want to be. So I'm exiting from right there. And see, here's just one more way you can get there. All right, so pips connecting there. Do that all the way until you get to the other side. If you run out of thread, what you can do is bring a new strand in through the work and use the same trick I've been showing you to go under weft thread as a way to weave in that new strand, and then go ahead and just travel to exit from where you are. I'm probably going to need to do that. Mine's getting a little short, but I would have never believed if we use up all that warp strand, but we did. So this is a no waste thread design. There you go. After you finish adding your last pit bead, go ahead and weave in the rest of that strand. If you feel like it's getting a little thick on the front side, and the front side being the side where these beads pop above, you know, you can always do your weaving in at the reverse side. That'll be the side that's against your wrist when you're wearing it. If you feel like you need to, if you feel like the threads are getting a little visible, usually this method is good for at least, you know, you can do it once or twice before it starts to get a little thick. So I am working in the reverse side for weaving in that strand. So weave your strand to exit from either side of the middle bead. So just right there. Just want to be exiting from that. And then string 4 beads. String your button. And then on the, what'll happen is your beads are going to sink into the button. So I'm going to show you just a little extra way you can guarantee that height. So from here, you'll want to just assume that a bead is going to get stuck in there. So string 1 for that. Then string another seed bead. And I just kind of went for some extra color. And then string another one. And another one. And one more that you know will get stuck inside the button. You go through the button and back through those 4 seed beads, the same ones. And so what should happen on the top side is you'll see something like that. And what will happen underneath the button should look like that. And those 2 black seed beads that I strung are going to get stuck inside the buttonholes. And it's about the same height as a seed bead, so it pretty much works. Now your thread's going to be exiting from those 4 beads right there. Go ahead and just go through the bead that's in the very center. And go through it from the opposite side that you were on when you strung the button. So you see it's looking like that. And all this can be tightened up, so don't worry. You can even hold the button and just kind of pull your thread a little bit. So there's your connection with your button. And you do need to reinforce that through. So go ahead and go through it. And through the button. Go through the beads here at the top. Back through here. You'll automatically catch the seed bead that's stuck inside of it. And then back through those 4. There we go. And you can reinforce that one more time. And after reinforcing one more time, which I just did off camera, go ahead and weave in your thread. using the same method that we've been using to do all of these other weave-ins thus far. So you should have a nice strong connection with your button on this side. All right, so there's our button, and I did all my weaving in. Here's our bracelet. So we just need to make the loop on this side. Let's use our thread that we left on that side just to make a little button loop. So your thread will likely be exiting from either the, in my case, it was actually weft thread. It was the tail. And so in my case, it's easy for me to just jump over the side warp. If you have a warp thread instead of a weft thread in this position, go ahead and just go around the bead. And no matter which direction you go, you can get yourself exiting from what will be the third bead in from the edge. So I just need to go through one more here. There we go. So you want to be exiting from the third in from either edge. So you'll have two on each side that are remaining unworked there. So let's string our button loop. All right, so string 40 beads. Bring it around into a loop. And from the bottom here, next to your band, count up 4 beads. And then go through, heading in the opposite direction, the 2 above those 4. So basically you'll just want to go through those 2, heading in this direction. And then you'll want to string 4 more beads. With those 4 more beads, go through the 3rd bead in from the other side. And if you want, you can just keep going through the next 2, and that will give you a full connection like that with the other side. At this step, test your button and make sure, what you can do is you can hold that tail thread or hold the rest of that working thread and just double check everything works. You need to be able to get this loop over your button comfortably. Feel free to add or remove beads as necessary, but because we have this little sticky up part here, you're going to want to make sure that you really can get your beads over it. Keep in mind also that when we reinforce, it's going to get just a little bit tighter. That tends to happen. So that is what I think works really well, is a count of 40. And then you come back and you go through basically what is the 5th and 6th beads, and those become kind of like a little join. That gives you a little jump out from the bracelet, gives you a lot of length. From here, we're just going to need to go through and reinforce that loop. And there it is. Reinforce, weave in, and that's actually the back side. Sorry about that. That's the top. And I mean, it really doesn't matter super much which is the top or the, you know, the top facing part or the part that'll be on your wrist. But the one way you can tell is, see the little bead we made that goes pop pop at the top? That's the side that I like to have be the part that I wear facing up. And so let's try it on. Oops. I'm so terrible at putting bracelets on myself. Let's make that effort here. There we go. Got it. It's mostly just doing this one-handed that's hard. If you have someone help you, it's easier. But there we go. So the closure adds a bit of length, and that's just because it's a pretty big button, so you have kind of a big loop. But it does also make it so that it works up a little quicker, and there's your beautiful bracelet. Let me take it off and show you again a little flat lay of it. Easier to take them off for some reason. There we go. There it is. I can almost get it to fit in frame. Let's go up a little bit. There we go. There's our whole bracelet. So it's kind of like, I was going to call it the garland bracelet, but it could be called so many things. It's just really, really cool. Oh, and check it out. There's all these pips left. So if you wanted to do a longer bracelet, you've got plenty of beads and plenty of pips. I hope you have enjoyed this kit and that you have loved your Creative Soul December 2024 project. And so I will be posting the other colorway, and any other ideas I might have, because you know, we might need an earring. I'm just saying, a bracelet needs a good earrings. All right, so I wish you happy beading.